Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Happy update day, everyone. Of course, iOS 12, watchOS 5 and tvOS 12 are out today. Definitely get your hands on the Siri Shortcuts app. That is a total game changer. It takes a bit of fiddling around to get used to it. But, hey, you can come up with some all sorts of crazy shortcuts that you can trigger with your own custom phrase. I'm actually running a few as of this morning. I do one where I say the phrase, heavy home. As I'm leaving work, sends a message to my wife saying I'm coming home, searches my Apple Music for heavy genres of music, and chooses songs, say, around a 3-4 minute length, and say maybe up to 5 songs. My commute home isn't that long, and so I just get to rock out for that trip home. I've got variations for one with more chill style of music, and I've got one that opens the podcast app. I've also actually done the shortcut to set the volume of my phone, so when I don't jump in the car, I'm blasted with music straight away. Fantastic, and I can't wait to dig into more of that. If you're waiting for the macOS Mojave update, that comes out on the 25th in Australia. And there is also a HomePod update too, which we will talk about later in this episode. So the start of the Apple event hit off with this Mission Impossible style intro video around the clicker. It was quite cheesy, but I do like cheesy. The biggest takeaway from this was the fact that the AirPods in the video were triggered with a Hello Siri. So I got really excited thinking that they were going to come in the event. Spoiler alert, unfortunately not. So, hey, maybe soon. And funnily enough, there was also markers on the glass. So that was a bit of a story earlier this year where staff were actually running into the glass. And the fact that it featured in the video was cool. And I'm glad that while she was running through Apple Park that she didn't run into the glass. And hey, teleporting Kevin Lynch. When is this feature going to come to Apple Watch? Yeah, maybe next year. AirPower. Where is AirPower gone? Nobody knows. They were reportedly having issues with heating with all the coils packed in there beforehand. Nick suggested to me, could have released like a version that has its set spaces of, okay, this is where the iPhone goes, this is where the watch goes, this is where the AirPods go. I think to me that Apple at least I don't think they want to release a product that just doesn't have the ease of use of how they originally marketed it, where you could just place it anywhere on the mat. Whether it still exists, whether it's been scrapped, we don't know. My gut feeling is it's still going to come in probably a different form. So on a little side note of that, we didn't get AirPower or AirPods in the event. But quietly, Your Beats 3 are now available in colours to match the iPhone XR. So, yeah, there is still some involvement with the Beats line. Overall, there were, unfortunately, little surprises in this event because of leaks beforehand, but the surprises were good. I did find the event a little bit repetitive overall, but it was still a fantastic keynote. And now I begin my conversation with Nick about the Apple special event. Watch Series 4 with Jeff Williams took the stage and Kevin just sitting in the crowd, given that he's usually there for the software duties. And yeah, Jeff's on stage. Comes straight out saying the Apple Watch is a intelligent guardian for your health, which really kind of shows the direction they're going in. Apple have previously kind of tried, the top end with the fashion and then moving into more exercise stuff. And while they cover all those bases, it's really the health features that they're making the most ground in. So quickly, for anyone that doesn't realise, the general updates is there was a new chip which is expected, S4, a stainless steel gold finish is available, which actually leaked before the event, unfortunately. Black ceramic and sapphire crystal on the back as standard, which is pretty cool that they've kind of like settled on one type. The rumoured crown with haptic feedback, it definitely plays a major role in this new model. A louder speaker and the mic moved to the other side. and improved cellular reception. Apparently, the waves can now go on the front and the back of the watch. But at least at face value, the main thing that you will first notice is the larger display. So, as I said, unfortunately, this leaked beforehand. But what's your thought on this? Do you think this is one of the biggest draw cards?
Oh yeah, certainly. I think the gold stainless steel looks amazing. I don't think that it's for me, but I think it will be for a lot of people. I just love the fact that it matches with iPhones. I'm really disappointed in the fact that the edition is dropped. For me, that was the worst part about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was kind of thinking, has Hermes become the edition in a way?
Definitely, without a doubt,
Yes.
Hermes is the edition. Yep.
Yes.
Price point and Hermes is a premium luxury brand, so it certainly doesn't. It's no like nothing to scoff at. I personally wanted the. I was really holding out to the day that I could get the edition, and I wanted the ceramic edition, and it's just unfortunate that sort of model won't be there for me in the future. But there are benefits to the Hermes one because it comes with the gold sport band, which is exclusive to Hermes, and obviously really nice Hermes bands and watch faces. So there's good things there.
Okay, back to the display part of it. I love it. I love the fact that there is a rounded corner screen, and this means that while they've commonly used OLED to kind of like disguise the fact that there's edges to the screen, with this there's certainly new faces and everything that really showcase the fact that this is kind of like edge to edge in a way, or micro bezel, much in the way that they didn't hide the notch per se, right? So yeah, that is certainly the biggest draw card for me. And then of course there's a major health feature we're about to discuss too. But just on the watch face side of things, the big one they're using in all the marketing is called the infograph face, and basically it's complications for days. Just I don't think I would spec mine out to be as busy as the one that they show in all the marketing, but there's certainly the different variations with the fact that you can have like a solid circle on the inside and then little complications on the corner. The customization looks great. So what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think they're all really nice. I played around with the fire, water, and vapor one on my phone, and on the simulator in Xcode. I was actually using it, but
Okay.
So for me, they all look really cool. I like the fact that they're adding things that are new and different. I think the complication one, the infograph. So I don't know why I said it the way that I wouldn't usually say it. But the infograph one is definitely as you say, it's busy, but I like that. I will never ever, almost ever, change from the Siri watch face though. So
Okay.
Would you start using any of these on your daily?
Well, I currently use the utility one. Anyway, like I used the Siri one for a long time, and then I just found myself flipping back to the utility. So I'm already kind of in that space, and they've actually expanded upon the utility one anyway. Like the example of, hey, Qantas again on stage.
They really love Qantas.
Yeah, they really do love Qantas. But yeah, so I like the fact that they show kind of like other customizations of what the infograph can look like. So I like the idea of having, as I said, like the solid sort of circle and then one's on the corner. That's pretty cool. But yeah, they also really love the Breathe app. They gave it its own watch faces and 3 versions of it, and they look cool. But I was kind of like, was anyone really asking for it?
Well, they said that Breathe is a really popular way. I'm like, really? Is it really popular? Are you sure about this?
It looks nice. Like, it looks nice, but
This is a case of where I think, you have Apple employees in a bubble, and maybe a privacy thing where they don't actually have usage stats. This is a privacy focused company where they might not have usage stats, and then everyone in the company uses it because it's like a cult. And then outside, I don't think anybody uses it.
Oh wow. Yeah, I know what you mean. They're kind of like so heavily invested in the idea of this is so great, and in actual use, people are like it's more like I have used it in situations that have warranted it, and it has been good, but it's now more become like that annoying notification.
I think I've muted it for the day more often than I've actually used it.
Yes, yeah. What I did like though was the fire, water, and vapor faces. As I said, that's really showcasing playing to the fact that hey, there are edges to the screen. Fire and water were cool. I was just really kind of like, what? When they showed the vapor one, like I just immediately pictured someone with Apple Watches like vaping next to it or something. It was, yeah. And the Nike Plus ones were cool. They're just like solid color, kind of like an inverse of what they were. So I thought that was pretty nice. But
yeah, they are really cool. The Nike Plus ones.
Okay, so there are kind of two killer health-related features here. And the first one is through the improved accelerometer and gyroscope, you can now do fall detection. So apparently it uses a combination of like your wrist trajectory and the impact acceleration. And basically if it's detected, you've had a fall, an SOS option comes on the screen. And then if you're just like not moving for a minute, it will then call SOS automatically. So they're really widening the gap as well for the age usage for Apple Watch. Like between this and the feature I'm about to talk about, I can imagine, okay, falls can apply to anyone, but particularly if you're like elderly and you fall over, that's like a big deal. So yeah, it was a really like I never thought of that type feature.
So many old people, falling is a serious thing, and especially for older people, it's really, this is game changing for, especially in families where that someone is prone to falling, and like, I don't know, maybe you, the child that always has to get called or rushed there, or, is the like primary caretaker. It's pretty easy to just, put an Apple Watch on, the person and make sure that they're okay. I think it's amazing. And then like, I've primarily thought of it for older people, but a few of my friends have mentioned it to me that on Apple Watch users at the moment, and think that it's really cool. And that, even though it falling is primarily a problem among the elderly, why wouldn't we want that? As young and healthy people, there's no reason why we wouldn't want a feature like that. So, if it helps us one day, sure, why not?
Particularly if you're doing a lot of work like climbing up ladders and stuff, like totally that,
Yeah. And there's a lot of attention to detail around only calling if you're immobile for a minute, and so Apple really does pay attention to detail there.
I was just like, that was in terms of the fact that we had the products aside from 10R leaked beforehand. I love the fact that there were little surprises like this, like software things that just couldn't have been found. So that's great. But I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about the primary health feature that is really being pushed with Series 4. Yes,
the biggest game changer is that they have now included an ECG feature, which is the first over-the-counter ECG product in the world. And it logs to a health app, and you can actually share the document with your doctor. And approved by the American Heart Association. It's also FDA approved. So it's available currently only in the US. And this is goes back to the fact that it is FDA approved, and there are like those sort of regulatory bodies in each country. So obviously Apple belongs to FDA fast track program, where they can they're like an approved provider, I guess, and so that they have like this access to just go to them shortly before to avoid leaks, but they wouldn't have those agreements around the world. So only once that product is announced would they start then going on to, like the Australian body and the UK body. But given the fact that Australia is one of their primary markets, I wouldn't imagine that we'd be too far behind.
What are you talking, like within 12 months, you reckon?
I think within 12 months, yeah.
Yeah.
As long as we don't hit an Apple Pay situation and they collude with the banks. We want our own ECG.
That would be very bizarre.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. This is great.
I think one of the most impressive aspects to me is the fact that it has the whole thing is run through the fact that you create a closed loop by your finger making contact with the crown.
It's so elegant.
Like that is, yeah, I know, it's crazy. So
yeah, so you just do that for 30 seconds and then you get the whole reading, and it will tell you whether you have atrial fibrillation or whether you have
AFib.
sinus rhythm. Yeah, we'll call it AFib from now on. Or whether if it says sinus rhythm, that means you're all good, but otherwise you should see a doctor. So yeah, it really helps, with that, being able to test at any time. And for people who don't know that they have an issue, this will really help you. And there is also, not, just connected on the heart features, there's now the low heart rate notification. And this would be, dangerously low, not like you're uber fit and have a low heart rate. Yeah, they also released this video with people talking about Apple Watch's health features and how they had been notified by the watch and how it saved their lives, and just other features around like how Apple Watch saved their lives. It's a really amazing video. I don't know why Apple hasn't put it on their YouTube page. It's in some random section on the website, but yeah, this will surely add a few stories to that in the future.
I think the annoying thing was that as soon as the event happened, and then it was within hours after, suddenly there was articles going around being like, this is never coming to Australia, don't buy this watch, like this main feature, and it was just people getting the wrong end of the stick with it. It's like, it's only US exclusive at this point because of the approval. It's like, why would they go out there and market this thing, this feature, like, so it's with such an integral part to that section of the presentation? Why would they do that and just completely shut off other countries? That I found so annoying. Yeah, I'm telling people, I'm like, don't be put off buying this. I'm like, it will come. You'll just have to wait a bit. I was like, it's like Apple Pay, like everything else,
And once they add that, even if it comes in the next generation in Australia, it would still be added like retrospectively to this series. So it's not like you're never going to get that feature. But on the last point on that is, I'm not sure if that's more ridiculous, or one of my coworkers, I don't know if she saw an article somewhere, or I don't know how this happened, but she said, is it true that the new Apple Watch has a lie detector? And I think it has to do with the fact that the spikes like basically look like a lie detector thing, and someone somewhere had twisted it, and she had believed it, and I just was like, oh goodness, how do I even begin to explain? So yeah,
what the? Okay, yeah, I haven't heard that one before, but all right. Quickly, another little misconception is that some people saw the fact that on the website that's mentioning 40 mil and 44 mil, and they're like, my bands won't work. It's like, no, the 38 mil is now the 40 mil. The 42 mil is now the 44 mil. All bands previously released match those sizes. Like it's, yeah, I was sort of contending with a few people after the, the morning of, and they're like, I can't believe Apple would do this. I'm like, just calm down. I'm like, have you watched the keynote? They're
Firstly,
like, full compatibility.
Anyone who believes that Apple wouldn't do that is crazy, because they really would at some point change the connector. But I wonder what kind of market those people sit in, because they're not the super keen, right? They're not like you and I, where we know every millimeter, and therefore, because we know the millimeters and follow Apple so closely, we know that they said that they are compatible. And they're also not the people who are so nonchalant that just got like, the Apple Watch to log their runs, and they don't really care that it's an Apple Watch or a Garmin. Because they wouldn't know that there was a difference from 38 to 40. So somehow these people don't know enough to know that the bands are compatible, but they know enough to know the exact mil that they were on before. It just seems, I don't know where they fit in.
I think that I don't know. It is frustrating, but on that note, unfortunately, we say goodbye to the classic buckle and the woven nylon. They did add some new releases for the sport bands, the sport loop. The modern buckle is back. leather loop. There's a gold Milanese now, and of course all the new Hermes. And the Nike loop is now shinier for like nighttime reflectivity. But yeah, I am expecting, say maybe early next year, woven nylon to come back. But yeah, they're sort of like those two are up there in terms of like favorite band types.
Yeah, I'm so glad that I got the Pride band before they discontinued the woven nylon, but I am really I kept on thinking that they would go for they would finally add the stainless steel lugs, and instead of doing that, they just dropped any band that ever needed a lug. It was like, oh,
Yeah.
you need a lug? Well, we're not doing those anymore. It's like, oh, come on. Yeah.
I am kind of kicking myself that I didn't grab the Pride band while I was at Apple Park because it was there. But yeah. Oh well, you've got one, and now I've got a discontinued product too. So, all right, price. So this has actually been the main clincher for so many people. So leading up to Series 4, I had so many people asking me, should I get Series 3 or should I? I'm like, you're like a month away from the event. Just hold on and just see what Series 4. And I had assumed, like we had discussed that it'd probably be same pricing, that they kind of like hit that pricing ceiling. But yeah, there was a price hike. And so because of that instance, reportedly, a lot of people were saying that places like JB and that were receiving like an influx of requests for the aluminium gold Series 3 because they don't offer that for on the website anymore. So were you surprised at the price jump? I mean, aside from Aussie dollar?
So I never listened back to what I said as my previous like prediction, right? But aside from the Aussie dollar price jump, they have not really had a consistent pricing for Apple Watch. So I'm not really surprised that it increased because it's gone up and down over time anyway. But I wouldn't say it's exactly cheap. I think they're still trying to find exactly where it sits now. But I guess considering I wanted the edition one day anyway, the stainless steel is, you know, the Hermes is around that price anyway, and the stainless steel is even cheaper. So personally, I don't really care. I'm not getting it because of price. I'm just not getting it because I don't feel the need to right now. It's like, you know, I'm still pretty, I actually don't feel like I've gotten the full use of my Series 3 yet. I just
I
don't
don't
feel
either yet.
Yeah.
I was in the exact same boat as you. I was like, nah, perfectly fine with my stainless steel Series 3. Like watching the event, I'm like, this product looks incredible, but there's not much reason why I should upgrade. Like I've had this since November, not even a full year, and yet it took 2 days for me to mull on it, and then I placed an order. So
well, that's cool. Yeah, I think it will be cool that you know, at least one of us will have and be able to give you know, actual hands-on usage feedback. So yeah, I'll be keen. I hope you really enjoy it and get a good price for your Series 3. I'm
waiting on that.
I'll be really keen to hear what that is because I would expect to be able to get a similar price. So, you know, who knows, that might change my decision in future if I can get a relatively good one. But again, it really is more about the fact that I don't feel like I don't feel 100% complete with this Apple Watch yet. So yeah.
Yeah, so unfortunately in this instance, and you mentioned that going from stainless steel back to aluminium is hard, and I knew it would be hard, but because of that price hike, I gave in and ordered a space gray aluminium just because I wanted that like for me the main draw is the larger screen, those new watch faces and stuff. ECG I reckon is a killer feature, but it's not, the fact it's not available in Australia isn't holding me back. So I will have to get used to that. But I'm mainly kicking myself because I waited a couple of days before ordering, and now it's blown out my delivery time by a month.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out whether I could do the classic, you know, pick up scenario and then cancel the current order. But
yeah. Well, you know, maybe it will. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? It might ship a bit earlier. Sometimes that happens. But one of the things that I'm curious about is, given the price hike, the 40 millimeter one is bigger in screen size than the 44. Was there a consideration to get the 40mm stainless instead of the 44 aluminium? It's marginally more at that price.
I think it's just that that mindset of no. Well, I always had the larger one, so I need to go the larger one.
Oh, and your bands.
Yes. Oh, of course, the bands. Yeah,
bands would be okay.
Yeah. So,
cool.
For anyone who's actually interested in getting into Apple Watch, but they don't want to go to the Series 4, Series 3 did get a price drop. So that's pretty cool. So you can check that out. But yeah, in terms of the price hike, we're talking around the value of $140 to $190. So it is a bit, like a bit of a sting. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting it, and yeah, we'll have plenty to talk about when I do.
Awesome.
So, any last thoughts on Series 4?
Not really. I think one of the things that people upgrading will notice the most is ways to speak to Siri on watchOS 5. So that'll be good fun.
Oh, and it is slimmer by 0.75 mil. So
wow. Look at that. Who says Apple can't innovate?
Yeah, exactly. Innovation, my ass. Okay. iPhone XS and XS Max. Craig in the crowd this time round, even though he introduced the iPhone X last time, and it was Phil City. Just so much Phil up there. Okay, so again, this leaked beforehand. I was always hopeful that the rumored names were going to be incorrect, and it was just Guy Rambo or whoever getting their wires crossed. But yes, it did turn out to be XS and XS Max. And in a way, I was actually thankful for the leak because I was already used to the fact that it could be named that. But where does that sit with you now in terms of it being probably pronounced incorrectly by most people?
Well, initially, given that I thought that it was going to stay at 10 and then be a 10 Plus and have an iPhone 9, it actually... I will get into more about the specs, but I see why they didn't do that. I see why they incremented the name to the S, but some idiot in the marketing team that whoever said, it can't be Plus, it's even bigger than the Plus, it should be Max. I think that person should be fired. I don't know how they... well, no, actually, I don't really think they should be fired. That's a really mean thing to say, but
wow.
That's a bit drastic. But I just think that it's a little bit self-indulgent from Apple's side. Like, don't be ridiculous. All your large phones are called Plus. Just leave it at Plus.
Because originally I was going to be like, oh, maybe it's because of the S and then the Plus. But I'm like, well, no, they already had 6S Plus and that sort of thing in the past. So it's just the fact that now we've got iPhone XS, XS Max, XS Match. All these variations that you're hearing, yeah.
But no one says 10, right? Like, everyone at work says XS, which at an insurance company is probably not that good either, but yeah.
But we are the true fans, and we say 10.
Yes,
exactly. But I had the same thing. I came back to work after my trip away, and everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, what do you think of the XS, like the XS Max?" And I was just like, I didn't even say anything. I didn't even bother correcting them. But okay, so there's the names. Got that part over with. It really is an S cycle, like for sure. You've got improvements like improved Face ID. There's improved dynamic range in the display. There's 120 hertz touch sensing, so not actually ProMotion, but there's at least that. They said wider stereo sound. Possibly the wireless charging is better, but they didn't even bother mentioning that because AirPower. Same design, fantastic new gold color, and the battery improvements were good too. So they went on further on that, saying that it's now IP68 rated. And I love their sort of examples of, hey, it's beer resistant, and that sort of thing. And this is, again, comes back to the classic Apple being conservative about the ratings. It's like the iPhone X can survive far more than what is classed as an IP67 anyway. But it's kind of like they don't want to go out there saying, hey, throw your phone in the water. So
yeah. Well, now they said that if you did accidentally do that, it would be fine, which I thought was, quite telling. But in one of their like shorts, so sites like The Verge will basically do like the keynote in 12 minutes, right?
Yeah.
And they'll post that. And now Apple's gone a step further and they said like the keynote, our news in 107 seconds or whatever. And even in that very condensed version, they still mentioned the fact that it's beer resistant. So I just think that's a great, I love that. I think it's great. I've never spilled my beer on my phone because I'm too busy drinking it, but I can imagine it happens.
Well, funnily enough, is I've never I've run my iPhone 10 under the water before, like to clean it, just to like very, very quickly, right? But I've never actually submerged it, and I've never actually accidentally dropped it into anything, except for I was watching the keynote again on my iPhone 10, sitting on the couch, and I rested my iPhone 10 landscape on the edge of the bowl of cereal, and I went to turn around, and the whole like top half of my phone fell on my cereal. So my iPhone 10 is cereal resistant.
Wow. I don't know how that happened, but okay.
Yeah, I was just like, I was like, serious? I was like, I've never, and this happens now. But it's fine, perfectly fine.
What cereal was it?
It was Milo cereal, so it's now choc scented. So, okay, so the chip. We are both huge fans of Apple's A series chips, and the A12 with Bionic. So that kind of hints at the fact that it is an improvement, but not drastic enough to warrant a different name added on the end. And we had a lady come out, I think her name was Kyan Drans, something like that. Had we seen her before in a keynote?
No.
No, we hadn't? No, okay. And that was cool. They brought out someone else to talk about primarily the chip. Like, that was a cool sort of little way to break it up.
Yeah.
Okay, so they focus all around the neural engine and augmented reality, and this was the big one. Is with A11 they talk about 600 billion operations per second, and everyone's like, okay, next year they're gonna tip it over to 1 trillion. No, they go next level and go 5 trillion operations a second. Like I think the mind just boggles at figures like that.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane. So, basically, under the hood of like a lot of machine learning models, because the neural engine is specifically for running machine learning stuff, right? So it'll be both to train machine learning models, like in photos, Apple's photos and stuff. All the training is done on device, so it will learn the faces on the device and all of that. And then there's also the actual execution of the model, right, to do the prediction. And essentially, a lot of them are just a whole bunch of if statements, right? So it'll say like it's either this or it's that, and then it'll go to the next level and it'll say it's either this or that. If let's say it's like a large animal with a long nose, right? It'll say like, oh, the animal is either large or small. And then it'll say either long nose or short nose. And there will be long neck or short neck. And it could be like a giraffe or an elephant. And it will just keep on like doing that. So this will cover 5 trillion of those operations in a second, which is absolutely mind blowing. And, in our comparison, testing at work, both training and running machine learning models with Apple's software, although they are limited in their use cases, are much faster than the competition. So this really takes it to the next level. And the stuff that you can do from a developer point of view and a machine learning point of view with this neural engine is definitely class leading. So it's really exciting from that point of view.
Cool. I like the fact they just did in terms of relating to the general user, just a performance demo of just opening apps and closing apps and interacting with them and stuff. And it almost looked like it was in fast forward. It was just so snappy. I kind of gather that at this point, they sort of were going through things in a way that it was almost like a WWDC recap. And that's kind of when I started to feel like, okay, they're sort of padding this event out. And then I had the sinking feeling of, okay, maybe this iPad isn't coming. But what I did like out of all the demos was that open court, it's one of those, basketball demo. That was just such an excellent use of AR. And we talked about that. We're like, okay, sports and AR, like it's got to happen. And just the interface in itself, I reckon, looked fantastic.
Oh yeah, I think the basketball demo was amazing. The stuff that they can do without sensors is really exciting, and basically puts the power in so many more people's hands, for like really good coaching. And I think it's awesome. I just think it's awesome.
On a side note, speaking of augmented reality, or actually, given this is update day and stuff, even though I've been running the beta, I had remembered back to, in this presentation, they mentioned AR Quick Look. I was like, of course, yeah, AR Quick Look. That was part of WWDC. And so I went to the page for that, and I was testing it around at work today, like placing the guitar like outside and these objects. And man, like I posted some screenshots of it, and that guitar looks damn good. Like I was very impressed by it. To the level that we were then doing all this research into that whole USDZ file format and how to export our current 3D models to be compatible with it. So at least from my workplace perspective, we're trying to get ahead in that in that department, just so when it is more widespread, we're kind of like ready to roll.
Has Adobe updated Photoshop to include that file format yet?
I have to check that because that was the main thing.
Okay.
Because it's kind of like I remember the presentation back from WWDC, and then like sort of relearning about it. I was like, oh, of course, yeah, this is going to be baked into Creative Suite. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure they did say that. But I retweeted for anyone that follows me a really cool app. It's an AR kit 2. They're on 2 now, right? It's not 1.5. 2.
Yeah, it's 2. Yeah.
The app that it was. That scans objects in 3D, and then you can place them like again, and those were amazing. But along with that tweet is like a link that has some of these quick look like resources, USDZ files, and they have like this Avo toast one that looks so realistic, and just like a loaf of bread where it's truly immersive. So definitely, if you do follow me, check out that 3D scanning app page tweet, because there are a few of those file resources that are really fun to play with.
I think between this and that basketball demo, we're really kind of like turning that corner of like, okay, everyone's so familiar with Apple being so invested in AR and AR kit. It's kind of like, at first I think people thought it was gimmicky, or I'm never going to use that. And it's like, now they're starting to say, oh yeah, that is actually pretty cool sort of thing. So this time next year, or even next WWDC, I'm certainly expecting to see even more sort of relevant things come out in that space.
Absolutely.
Okay, camera itself, the True Tone Flash has advanced flicker detection. There's a big spiel about connecting the ISP with a neural engine. And for this, what I regard as the killer S feature for the 10S and 10S Max is the portrait mode depth control. Like that, like so many people were saying, oh, this year there is no 3D touch, there is no whatever, there's no primary feature. And I'm like, to me at least, I feel like that's the feature. What do you reckon?
Oh yeah, it's definitely the most likely thing to get me to upgrade. But as Michelle put it, she just basically said, I can wait a year for that, as soon as it was announced. So it was very evident that, to most people, that would be the reason that you would upgrade. But I agree. It's a feature that I can wait 1 year for, but I think it will be cool when I get it.
And also just improve photos in general with the smart HDR. The way they explained that was really good too, because it's always been the running theme that, hey, like Pixel have the leading cameras and all that sort of stuff. And I feel like just with these couple of features here, it's really like tipped that part around.
So many people are going to get better photos without knowing why. And this will be why. It will help them with all of that balance, where you've got like that really bright light source, and they don't know how to, adjust that exposure. This smart HDR do all of that for them, and it's just going to be great.
And you can record in stereo sound, so that's a nice addition too. Dual SIM.
Yes.
Yes. I never had a real, it was always talk of dual SIM beforehand. I was never really like, why do I really need that? But it wasn't until I actually went overseas I was like, oh, okay, yeah, dual SIM totally would have come in handy then. They're calling it DSDS, dual SIM, dual standby. And so it's basically your main physical SIM and an eSIM, but they're saying specific to China, there's actually, they've got a custom SIM tray where you actually put two physical SIMs back to back, which is quite like a neat way of doing it. So this in itself is like with the ECG, is actually coming via an update later in 2018.
Know that? I really did not know that. So yeah, you learn something new every day. I just figured it was immediate
off the bat. Yeah. This is just one of those things that, again, like, it's, unless it applies to you, you're sort of like, okay, yeah, cool, dual SIM, whatever. But hearing more and more about people being like, this would be totally handy for me, I travel a lot and all that sort of stuff, I was like, great. So that's another cool thing that you can tick off the list. The 512 gigs, it happened. I know in our predictions you're like, nah, I don't think it's going to happen, but yeah, there you go.
Look at that. They've had it on the iPad for a while, right? But yeah. It's quite overkill on the phone. 200,000 photos, did they say?
Yeah, or something like that. It's pretty crazy. I just remember I forget how many keynotes ago it was when Phil Schiller was really pushing the iCloud backup, and like, you don't need so much physical storage on your phone. This is like the complete opposite.
I think his quote was, not word for word, but essentially he said that the real pro users use 16 gigs because they know how to manage their storage effectively with the cloud. And
yeah.
That is just the biggest load of crap ever. But it was like when he said that, I promise you, Phil Schiller is going to be the next Steve Wozniak. Because he even, remember when he said that the Siri, when we still called it the Siri speaker, he said the smart speakers needed a screen. And that, using an iPhone was better because you have the screen. Well, where the bloody hell is the screen on the HomePod? And it doesn't exist. So
plus Phil also apparently was pushing for a physical keyboard on what became the iPhone. So
yeah, I don't know about this guy. Maybe Apple needs to take another look at him.
I can't unpicture him as the Lion from Wizard of Oz ever since he said the whole courage spill with the headphone jack. He's just so perfectly proportioned to be the Lion. So. Okay, so they said same price point, but in Australia, with the Aussie dollar, and you gave the forewarning on Twitter, you're like, okay guys, brace yourself, there's probably going to be a price hike, and lo and behold, there was. So yes. The $15.79 has jumped to $16.29. Ouch, but I'm sure it won't stop people. And then, of course, the XS Max is at $17.99. I was hoping that kind of like that discrepancy of that extra $200 and so that they had beforehand with the iPhone 10 was kind of like so they could keep it at the same price, but yeah, evidently not.
Yeah, it's the XS Max, I think, is particularly expensive. I think most people who got the 10 would be able to, just get the XS at those prices. Like, I don't think that I think they would have paid what they would have to now. I think they would have managed to pay it last year. So I don't think that 10 price, the XS price is particularly bad, like the $50 increase, but certainly the XS Max and the XS Max at 512 gigs, I think that's 2,499 Aussie dollars.
Yes,
and that is quite a lot of money, in absolute terms for a phone. So yeah,
it's nearly my Touch Bar MacBook Pro.
Yeah,
like it's yeah.
And look, there are a lot of people that it really wouldn't matter to, and they can get the one that they really want. But
plus
it
people,
looks like a lot of money.
When it's broken up into a plan, like the illusion of the actual price is it's spread out over 2 years, and it doesn't really matter to them. So, yeah, it does look like it's the pre-orders are going gangbusters though for the Max for sure. Like that massive screen really seems to be the popular choice. Again, like with that chart that I put out, I don't really know what the existing stock levels were, but I'm assuming they were expecting the Gold to be popular and the Max to be popular. And the fact that the Max pre-orders kind of became unavailable pretty quickly. There's a lot of money's being spent. Any last thoughts on these two, aside from the fact that you're not upgrading? Is that right?
Yeah, so I mean, I feel pretty okay giving the advice that if you have a 10, you probably don't need to go 10S. If you want the extra screen size and you don't use an iPad like I do all the time, then, I can understand going from 10 to 10S Max. That's, you'll enjoy it, and you can get more movies and wider surround sound and go gangbusters. But certainly for most people coming from the 10, I don't think this is a must upgrade. So I've taken that advice on board myself, and I'll just not be. I said it with the Series 3, but even more so with my 10. It still feels new to me.
It really does. It really does. Yeah, but it's like new design. It's running fantastically. It's still one of the most powerful phones out there. Yeah, and because I'm so happy with the physical size and the screen on this, I don't want something more cumbersome to hold. As cool as the Max would be, I just don't want to have to handle that. So it was an easy choice for me. But 3 times guest on Apple Slice, Ty from the podcast post, he's handed off his 10 to his other half, and he's ordered the 10S Max.
Oh.
So
well,
yeah.
So again, going to the Max, sure. But on my personal choice, it also comes down to, I think the fact that I've had a cover on my phone is also I'm waiting for the day where the phone starts feeling a bit old and I take the cover off, because I'm not so, invested in keeping it really, scratch free. And I think that I'll do, a little bit later on to prepare for the next phone anyway, to really feel like I got the full use out of it. Because my iPhone 7 Plus Jet Black, I never got to feel that thing. It was beautiful. One of the best feeling phones that Apple's ever built, and I barely ever got to hold it. So I wasn't making that same mistake.
Exactly. Okay, that wraps up the 10S and 10S Max. Then Lisa Jackson just curveballs that comes in with an environmental update. She did relate it back to the products, but it was at this point I truly knew. I'm like, okay, they've really padded out the event. So, yeah.
I'm skeptical about that, because usually, I think it's been November before and you've told me I'm waiting for that HomePod event. So I'm pretty sure that you still thought iPad was coming right at the end.
I was just hoping for the one more thing. I was like, come on, surely. But and then I was watching the time. I was like, maybe they could push an extra half an hour out of this. But the only thing that I was a little bit let down by was just the amount of it was feeling a bit repetitive by this point, in terms of they kept coming back to the chip and coming through over the features. I was like, okay, this is great. Please move on to the next product. So.
Which was the iPhone XR, also introduced by Phil. I think Phil's introduced every iPhone, right? Except for the original iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. XR. Now, I was so confident on iPhone 9 beforehand for the naming.
Me too.
But given what they've packed into this, it is actually in some ways beyond the 10. So I don't think that 9 would have been quite warranted.
Yeah.
If you can see that. That being said, when there was the rumor of, hey, they're going to call it XR, I'm like, that's a load of crap. They just totally got it wrong. And it wasn't until it actually became official and you saw the marketing with it and everything, I was like, in a way, I actually kind of like that name. Weirdly. I don't know what you think of it, but
I really don't mind it. But some feedback I got on it from Michelle was that, so basically a programming language that I use for work is called
the first
R.
thing I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah, and basically she was just like, it just reminds me of R and I hate it. So, yeah, then now every time I see it, I also think of that. And then I'm not, I love R, so I can't really complain, but it's lost its meaning for me.
Okay. People are trying to think, what does it stand for? And I don't even really know if they know what it stands for, but I just come down to the fact that R comes before S. So it's a slight step back. But yeah.
It stands for really close to S.
There you go. Okay, now, in general, I think this is easily going to be the best selling out of all the new phones
Definitely.
offered, in this event. Okay, it's crazy. You get the same chip. So I was, okay, that's one thing. The same Face ID. That part I was kind of like, okay, well, I didn't expect that. I thought they'd give you first gen Face ID for some reason. I don't know why. Of course, it has a similar design to the XS models. It has 1.5 hour better battery over the 8 Plus. It has the best battery out of all the iPhones on offer. That is...
People will go crazy for that. They really want battery life, right? And the 8 Plus was good, but 1.5 over, whew.
Now, where we were wrong, we were like, they can't possibly remove 3D touch. Now, they didn't remove it, but they replaced it with haptic touch.
I don't know about... Basically, it's just a long press in very few situations with the haptic feedback. It's just
it was
long
a surprise.
This is marketing for you.
Yes, yeah. I think because some rumors in the past have just been so ridiculous that we kind of like probably get our back up a bit. Like, nah, no way there's multicolors, no way they're removing 3D touch, no the way it's called 10S or 10R. This is a load. And I just the whole time I was like, oh, okay, all right, yep, oh yeah, okay, got that wrong. And now I'm starting to question my like predictability of any Apple products at this point, but. Now the display. So it's their best LCD. So it's quite funny because they really pushed the fat, OLED with the iPhone 10 when that was launched and stuff. And this one they're really remarketing LCD with liquid retina. So they can come up with another combination of words. It is a single lens camera. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll get that. It won't have portrait mode. It has portrait mode. And not only does it have portrait mode, it has depth control. What the actual... and I know it's not going to be as good as the 10S and 10S Max, and I know that Pixel have pulled off that sort of effect with a single lens. I just didn't think they'd go there.
Yep. What I really love, this just reminds me of something I really love about the 10S and the 10S Max, is that the biggest size doesn't get you any more features. And this is another thing where, usually you wouldn't get that usually in an Apple product where they have like a whole bunch of where they have a differentiated product lineup. And this just, except for the 2x zoom, you're getting a lot of the way there. And I think they could have like not done that. And then, but doing that makes me really happy.
It makes me really happy also because that style of photo is a really killer feature for just general public. Like, as soon as they saw any portrait mode photos, particularly, like, it seemed to have a real resurgence when iPhone 10 came out. And everyone's like, wow, I wish my phone could do that, because they had, like, the 6 or something like that. And I think that the fact that the portrait mode will still be impressive, but not as good as in terms of, like, fine details and how well the actual depth works and stuff, I just still think at face value, people will just see that style of effect. And think, wow, this looks incredible. Even if you might be able to zoom in and tell the difference, I think to most people they just see the picture as a whole, and they're going to love it. And I just think this is going to fly off the shelves.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing that I actually just want to mention on the liquid retina is that a bunch of colleagues had the compare page up, and a few of them are like, on 7, or one guy was on the 6, and they're definitely upgrading, but looking at that compare page, trying to understand where they're going to go. And the one guy pointed out, he's like, oh, the 10S is this super retina, but the 10R is the liquid retina. And that's even like better. And, it has like this, it has this number. And, it was like, I actually try and stay away from these discussions because I don't want people to like, I don't know. I feel like when people find out that I know a lot about Apple, they just like kind of, they always make every
become
event
your soundboard for
and I just don't like that, so I just try and stay away. And I didn't say anything about it, but I was like, dude, liquid retina is not better than super retina. But good on Apple for just having such good marketing that people don't even know. They're just like, I like that phone, I want that phone.
I think the annoying thing though is that with the tech sites is they're like, oh, it's a 720p screen, blah blah blah, like, and I'm like, you're making it sound like it's crap. It's still a great display. It's the same style of density and everything as the 8 and 8 Plus, right? Like it's still, and again, it comes back to it. It's like the definition of what retina is. It's like at the actual distance that you hold it at. You can tell the difference if you're looking at stuff right up close, but ultimately for the general public, they're not really going to notice the difference between this pixel density and then the one in the 10s and 10s
No,
Max,
they're not. Because, as you say, that's the definition of retina. So if you hold it at a reasonable distance away, you cannot tell the difference. And, your TV that you sit 4 meters away from, that's like usually 1080p. Some people have 4K, but, 1080p, you're comparing to a giant screen and a tiny screen. I just think, like, you won't really know the difference, so...
I'm assuming 10R had True Tone. I'm guessing because 8 and 8 Plus do. I'm guessing it did. They never actually they might have mentioned it. Surely it would. Like, there's no way they'd take that off.
Let's go with yes.
Okay, colors. So in the marketing photos, the colors looked great. Like, the video looked fantastic, but it's not until you get all the tech sites with their hands-on photos and all the flash and everything is bouncing off the reflective surfaces that you kind of like... You really got to see one in real life to judge, I think, because some are like, say, like the yellow and that looked a bit tacky in those sort of photos, but in the official marketing, they look good. So, yeah. I'm going to go with what you're saying, like the yellow and the coral. Some people will love it, but certainly not for me.
Yeah, the product red one is my favorite, and then obviously the black. I would not get the white, but on the True Tone, it is a True Tone display. And it also, just as like another note, does have the wide color gamut, which is something that we really love. So, yep,
cool. Great
display for sure. Super Retina, Liquid Retina.
Liquid Retina, that's it. Liquid Retina is better than Super Retina. All right, now the price, I guessed it was going to be priced between the 8 and 8 Plus, like at the time. And technically, I was correct. So it's actually $749 US, and the 8 and 8 Plus were $699 and $799. Of course, since then, the 8 and 8 Plus have had a price drop. But in Australia, with the Aussie dollar and everything, at the time, I thought it would have been, based on the previous 8 and 8 Plus pricing, I thought it'd be $11.49. That would be the halfway point. But no, it's $12.29. So it is the price of what the 8 Plus was. It's just, it's just how it is. Like, that is now regarded as the price point for a more affordable phone, really.
Yep.
It's just, yeah.
Most people, again, are paying this off over 2 years, and their contract price is like, will go up marginally and they won't really care. So, yep.
That essentially wraps up the products in the event. As I said, they finished off quickly with like the HomePod updates and stuff. I'm straight after this, I'm going to try and get that update working. So yeah, finally we got. It's so funny. It's like something as big as, hey, everyone wants multiple timers, we want to make calls and stuff, and it was just this quiet little bit added at the end of the event. And everyone's like, oh yeah, cool. It's like if they had announced that back in WWDC, it would have had bigger impact. But
yeah.
Any final thoughts? Were you happy with the fact that it was essentially 3 products? 4 products?
I was pretty happy with this event. Obviously, on the products aren't drawing me that much that I feel the need to upgrade now. Sometimes there's a resurgency where, I actually get hands-on time with them in the Apple Store, or I get a bit bored with my current device and then I go out and get the one that I actually want. But overall, I think it was like a solid keynote with some really solid updates for a large majority of people. Just that because you and I are currently on the latest generations, not necessary that we upgrade right now. But yeah, I think the watch is probably the most exciting part for me.
Yeah, I think they kind of stole the show for sure.
Yeah, and the new colors in the 10, I like the stainless steel gold. Again, not what I will buy, but I think it looks pretty cool. So
yeah, the level of gold, it's not champagne, it's not too champagne-y, it's not too yellow, it's just a really attractive style of gold. Funnily enough, I did see some people on Twitter actually saying that they wanted to upgrade from the 10 to the 10R.
No,
I think it's just that. Yeah, no, some people actually do. I think they just love that color factor. Someone's
okay.
I want that blue phone. I want that red phone, because there is no product red. 10, yeah.
Speaking of colleagues, right? There's a guy at work who said that he doesn't like the fact that the 10R comes in lots of colors because it reminds him of the 5C, and wasn't the 5C a flop? No, I just don't get that flow of logic, because the 5C was a flop compared to the 5S, but by no means a flop compared to the rest of the smartphone market at all. And, it's just like, well, why not have colors? If you really want to get a better phone, get the 10S. But if you want a more classy looking phone, but why not have a bunch of colors?
I'm glad that they have managed to bring back colors and it not be a plastic casing. So I am glad that the 5C didn't hang around, but it's certainly, it wouldn't have been a flop by any means. No more in the way that some people could be like, the iPhone SE is a flop. It certainly isn't a flop. It fulfilled its purpose. It just wasn't the primary part of the market. It was just.
I would never say that the SE was a flop. Yeah,
exactly. But like some people have that perception.
Some people.
Some people.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any final thoughts from you?
When is this October event coming?
Oh, it'll be soon in October, I reckon. If we haven't heard of it by November, then I reckon there's no event.
Yeah. I'm currently still just trying to sell my Series 3 just to get funds back, but I'll be fine when iPad Pro comes around anyway.
Yeah.
It's just weird having the 10R launching in October. Like, could it actually possibly be launching after an October event takes place? I know it doesn't really matter because it's a different product line, but it just sort of doesn't feel quite like that event's been completed until 10R launches.
So it's possible, given that logic, that there might not be an October event, and maybe we see iPad in March. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, okay. Here's the thing. I've waited this long. I currently have the one the iPad that was released in March. That's going fantastic. If it is pushed back to February, or March, it's not a huge deal, to be honest. Because the reason it was such urgency before is because I didn't have an iPad to use, and now that I've got one and I can use the Apple Pencil, it's cool. And I'm definitely going to upgrade when it comes out. I'll still hope for an October event just because I love Keynote so much, but yeah, we'll see. Okay, if you'd like to follow Apple Slice on social media, we're on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and you can also search in your player if you haven't subscribed already. And please leave a review in the Apple Podcast app if you'd like to let us know your thoughts on the show. And finally, Nick, as always, we are part of which network?
The Ozcast Network. That's AUS Cast CAST Network.com.
Cool. Well, it was a bigger gap between episodes than normal. I'm glad that we've all sort of flown around the world and back to gather our thoughts on this. And yeah, I'll catch you next episode, and hopefully we have an October event invite to talk about.
Oh, yep. And one final thing, I usually have my parting note. Given that this has been a podcast about complaining about your co-workers' views on Apple, I had a co-worker who from day one of owning an Apple Watch, which has been about 6 months now, maybe 4 months, has had it on cinema mode in the view that that the battery lasts longer, because he only wants to charge his Apple Watch once every 4 days, and was complaining to me that when he raises his wrist, the Apple Watch doesn't activate. And I was like, do you have it on cinema mode? He's like, oh yeah, I've had it on cinema mode from the day I got it. I was like, just get into the habit of just charging it every night and you'll never worry about your battery again. Just do it. And he's like, nah, I want it to last 4 days. And yeah, so that is how. Imagine having an Apple Watch on cinema mode every single minute of every single day. Crazy. Crazy.
Is it like a Series 1 or something? Like, what is it?
Yeah, Series 1. Yeah. No, Series 2, actually. Series 2.
Okay, yeah. Wow, that is just next level frustration.
It's like quite a lot of people come to me with their frustrations. I'm like, there is a setting for that. Don't live in your frustration and blame someone else because you're not using it. I just think if you're frustrated with your Apple devices, check if there's a setting that helps out first.
Exactly. All right. That wraps up episode 59. That is an event done. Fingers crossed for one around the corner, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
All right, catch you.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award winning Ozcast Network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.